So, about my video, who watched my tour of my brain video? Because that happened quite recently. When did that happen? Sunday, Saturday? I don't even know anymore. Tour of Dan's brain on the Sunday. Woo! Did you like it? Yeah. So if you're wondering, remember like before my last video that there was like a 3-week break between Dan Is Not on Fire videos? That's because the people that were helping us to make, do I have it? I don't have the Dan and Phil sim. They wanted to make sure everything was going to work 100% when people got it, so they wanted us to push the video forward by a week before we made them, which is completely fair enough. But because I was ready to make that, I was like, I don't know what video I'm going to make. Don't know what video I'm going to make. So then all of a sudden I had to think about what I wanted to make, which had already meant that it had been a week. And then I decided on Tour of My Brain, and the process of beginning my Tour of My Brain video began. So if you're interested, the way that it's possible, Phil, when he came up with his Tour of My Brain idea, he sat down, because we often help each other out with making our videos from like a production point of view. Phil was like, I want to do a tour of my brain. I'm thinking that I can make a brain and have little flaps and say things that represent things inside it. And I was like, obviously, amazing idea. And then we had to decide how it would be possible. So me and Phil both sat down for a very long time and we were making his, and then we decided that making a brain, cutting holes in it, and then putting a green screen on a table, and then putting the brain over the green screen, and then opening flaps so that you can make the green invisible and then edit things underneath it was a thing. So then that it came into fruition, and Phil then spent a while lovingly crafting his video, and then we finished editing it. And then mine, it was quite funny because that week Phil, I think, did he go up north to visit his family? I think he did. He went up north for like 3 days to visit his family, meaning that I was just completely alone. I had no help with my craft or anything. So I was like, I don't want to do literally what Phil did with the cardboard, because I felt that like the lo-fi cardboard and the drawing and stuff like that, I thought it was very, very amazing Phil aesthetically. So I was like, I need my brain to look different. So I settled on getting an actual human brain and then kind of photoshopping different lumpy areas of the brain into weird symbolic hatches that I could then open like that. So I had to plan the video, was the first thing. And that was scary because I had to write my little script of what my brain tour would be. But the thing is, once I'd finished writing it, that was it. I was completely committed, because my script of how many doors I had, what the doors were, and what were behind each doors couldn't change after I'd finished, because I then had to design the brain. So if I designed the brain and then changed my mind, couldn't. So it was very scary, because as soon as I'd finished it, I was like, this is locked down now, this is no choice. I might hate this in a week, and yet it has to be exactly what I make. So then I found a brain, and I spent a very long time photoshopping the brain. And then I was like, but wait, unlike Phil, who had felt tips and cardboard in the house, where the hell am I going to get a brain from? So I had to look up places where I could print a big, huge picture of a brain on high quality paper that wouldn't rip as I was cutting it, stuck to cardboard. So I had to go on like a 5-hour trek across London to this printing place to get this brain printed. And the woman was like, what the hell is this guy doing? Because I was like, yeah, could I have 3 copies of this giant, weird, lumpy brain with things on it? Okay. So I spent like £60 printing all this brain stuff out, and then I came home, cut it out, and then I was like, how the hell am I going to stick this to a... because cardboard and shiny paper aren't very easily stick together things, so I had to go get some like proper glue, and I poured so much like intense glue all over this cardboard. And then I was like, okay, So when I then had to put it on a table, this is the thing, as a left-handed person, I can't cut. I can't cut out. You give me a pair of scissors, no idea what I'm doing. Can't cut in straight lines, can't even draw in straight lines. Like when I was doing art at GCSE, my teacher would get so infuriated at my inability to draw straight lines. So when I got my little knife, I was just cutting out flaps of this brain. I was like, if I mess this up and slip, that's going to be a massive pain in the ass. So I spent ages just like cutting out all these little sections. And then I'm going to be real with you here. This is something that you might not realize. I didn't think when I was making this that obviously when you're making something that uses the green screen effect, where the way the green screen works, if you're wondering what that effect means, it has a really bright green color, and then you basically put a filter over the video that deletes anything that is that shade of green. Which obviously means that you can't have anything green that you want to be visible. Because as soon as you drop this filter onto it, everything green goes invisible. So that's why, like in Harry Potter, for example, Harry's glasses in Harry Potter weren't actually glass. Because if Daniel Radcliffe was actually wearing glasses, then he'd get loads of blue reflections of the Hogwarts set in his glasses. So he actually wore like glassless glasses, and then the glass and all the reflections in every single frame of Harry Potter was digitally put in, because otherwise it would reflect everywhere. My brain, if you go and look at the video now, I didn't realise after I'd already committed going halfway across London to getting this stuff, there was the colour green on my brain. I put the colour green on the things on my brain. So obviously it wasn't going to work, because as soon as I dropped the filter on it, everything that was green on the symbols on my brain were going to disappear. So Phil didn't tell me this, because I just kind of left him to edit it. But the actual process of opening the doors is painstaking in editing. You have to do a thing called, it's like an 8-point mat, which basically means you cut out like a Photoshop layer and everything in like a little, you put like 8 dots and then everything around it gets deleted, which meant that you had to, at the exact moment you opened a flap, you had to create a little hole for a hole to be shoved through all the layers in the video. If it sounds complicated and boring, yes, exactly. But because the things on my brain were green, I had to do all of that twice, because I had to do it all for all the layers that Phil did, but then I had to, for every single frame where I was opening a flap and you could see something green, put a separate layer of cutout all the way around it. So I'd say that every section of my brain in my video probably took about an hour and a half to make. Because I literally doubled the amount of work that I had to do. And then Phil was like, just keep it simple when you open the doors, just chuck a couple of symbols in, make them fly about. But oh no, Dan had to have Katniss Everdeen shooting Sephiroth with a bow and arrow because I thought it would be funny. I had to make a cave of regrets and somehow make some smoke filter that could somehow be an invisible layer over my regret cave whilst it was invisible. So the second week into my 3-week video gap, I had a bit of a mental breakdown because I think it got to the Friday night before that weekend, which is when I tweeted this, and Phil was like, Dan, if this video isn't only going to be finished tonight at like 4 AM or tomorrow, wouldn't you just wait a couple days and then upload the video talking about the Dan and Phil sim that you have to make? Because otherwise you're going to have to do it. And I was like, I don't want to accept this. After everything, I don't want to accept that I'm going to have to park this video. But Phil was right, like, whatever. So I just had to go, no. And then I made my I Can't Live Without My Phone video, and then I resumed making it this week. It was an adventure.